All right, so now let's start talking about glands. So with glands, we have sweat glands, and within sweat glands, there's two types of the merocrine and the apocrine sweat glands. And we'll kind of talk about those two a little more in depth in a minute. The other type of gland is the sebaceous gland. These are the glands that produce sebum, which is that oily, waxy secretion. It's normally discharged into a hair follicle and onto the hair itself, and we use it to lubricate the skin. It's also bactericidal, which means it kills bacteria, and its secretion is stimulated by hormones, normally during puberty. Then we have your ceruminous glands. Your ceruminous glands are in your external ear canal, and that produces cerumen, aka earwax, and that helps lubricate it and traps foreign material. Your mammary glands, these are a gland only functional in pregnant and lactating females because it produces milk. And then your lacrimal glands, these are what produce what you think of as tears, the lacrimal fluid, and that has some antimicrobial agents in there, and that's located in your anterior eye, located superior lateral. So if you think of towards your nose, the glands there, that's why sometimes if you watch eye drops you put in, they'll put pressure like with a cotton ball right there between your eye and your nose, and they're actually pushing on that lacrimal gland to close it off so that the medication doesn't get into your systemic circulation. All right, so here's the types of sweat glands, those American and the African sweat glands. So with the American sweat gland, this is the most numerous one. This is the one that actually secretes what you think of as sweat. So it discharges directly onto the skin. It helps with thermoregulation. So when you get really hot to cool you down, you start sweating. It helps eliminate drugs, it can dilute chemicals, and it has some antibacterial and fungal effect. The sweat that it secretes is 99% water and then 1% other chemicals like your lysozyme, waste products, electrolytes. Now, the African sweat gland, this discharges onto hair follicles. So let's see if I can show you here. So right here, this blue structure, this is a merocrine sweat gland. They call it an eccrine, same thing. Merocrine sweat gland, it has a gland and it has a duct to the surface and it's released directly onto the surface. But if you see your African sweat gland down here, it doesn't go straight to the surface. It has the duct that goes into that hair follicle, so it goes onto the hair follicle and up. And those are in your axillary region, mammary regions, and your pubic and anal regions. You don't start producing anything from your African sweat glands until puberty, and this is where you start to get body odor. So it secretes a viscous cloudy secretion that has your proteins and lipids, and guess what? Bacteria and things need to eat. So what do they like? Proteins and lipids. So when they start to consume it, that's what produces an odor. It's a bacteria breaking down that material. So that's kind of gross but cool at the same time. It's bacteria consuming that vicious cloudy secretion from the African sweat gland that causes body odor because they start breaking it down and it's a waste product. And that's it for your types of sweat glands.